and we will go ahead and then proceed on to item 5, which is our consent for this evening. Consent calendar. All items are considered routine or implemented in earlier council action and may be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion unless requested. So is there any item that my colleagues want to have pulled for a separate vote? Separate vote. Okay, seeing none for the separate vote. Colleagues, those that you'd like to have comments or questions? The Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Medina. Just a brief update from staff on items F as in Frank, G as in George, and J as in Jersey.
Thank you. Are there any other items, colleagues? Okay. If not, why don't we take them in order? Item F as in Frank, adopt resolution approving the design, authorizing the city manager to execute a construction contract with Golden Gate Construction, Inc. for the San Bruno Avenue, Perry Avenue intersection improvement project in the amount of $339,139, authorizing the city manager to amend the agreement with DKS Associates for $28,570 for a total agreement in the amount of not to exceed $88,048, approving a construction contingency of $55,000, approving a total budget in the amount of $602,000, and authorizing the return of $470,000 in project budget to Measure A fund balance. Vice Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Medina. I did mention to the city manager of my intent to pull this item, and I think it's pretty important with the history there and the importance to our community to have a brief discussion on this project, and that's why I'm pulling it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. City Manager.
Sure. Staff is prepared to provide a brief presentation, and so I'll turn it over to our Interim Public Works Director, Haywan Ritchie, to articulate the item that's before you and the project.
Thank you, City Manager. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. I have a brief presentation to share. Okay. The evening I have before you tonight is the award of the Cherry Avenue and San Bruno Avenue intersection improvements. So some background information on the project. This is a major intersection which is on San Bruno Avenue and Cherry Avenue, located between residential neighborhoods and commercial office area. On December 19th, 2016, there unfortunately was a fatal pedestrian hit and run collision, which occurred within the crosswalk. While it was determined that the design of the intersection itself was not responsible for the collision, an engineering study was conducted, which identified some improvements that could be made to the intersection to enhance operations. These improvements will be implemented with the Cherry Avenue, San Bruno Avenue intersection improvement project, which is before you this evening. So, brief information on the current operation. So currently there is a right turn only lane on southbound, sorry, will I toggle around here? On southbound Cherry Avenue onto westbound San Bruno Avenue. Note that right turns are currently allowed on red. We have a combined left turn and through lane from San Bruno Avenue that either continues in the southbound direction or onto eastbound San Bruno Avenue. Going northbound on Cherry, we have a apologies, just trying to. So there's a left turn movement from San Bruno Avenue is permissive. Vehicles making this movement must yield to everyone else who would include oncoming through traffic, oncoming right turners and pedestrians crossing San Bruno Avenue in the north-south direction. In the northbound direction, there's a left turn only lane from northbound Cherry onto westbound San Bruno Avenue. There is a left turn, combined right turn and through lane on northbound Cherry Avenue that either continues northbound direction or onto eastbound San Bruno Avenue. Along San Bruno Avenue, both directions have 2 through lanes and a protected left turn only lane. Under the protected left turn lane, those vehicles have the right of way, while the left turn arrow, so that's shown here. So the proposed improvements include reconfiguring southbound Cherry Avenue by removing the combined left turn and through lane and providing a separate left lane for each individual movement. This is done by narrowing the median to create space for additional lane. The right turn only lane from San Bruno Avenue onto westbound San Bruno Avenue remains, but the project would add a no right turn on red blank out sign and an overlap phase. The overlap phase would allow southbound lane right turns to continue without stopping when the non-conflicting left turn from eastbound San Bruno Avenue is active, so pedestrians would not be crossing at that time. The project would add a flashing yellow arrows for the southbound and northbound Cherry Avenue left turn movements. These signal heads have been shown to significantly reduce collisions by better delineating that while left turn vehicles are permitted to enter the intersection, they must yield to oncoming traffic and pedestrians. Other major improvements include adding pedestrian lead intervals, which provide pedestrians the opportunity to enter the intersection a few seconds before vehicles are given the green light. This increases the visibility of pedestrians, improves the crossing. The median modifications also includes adding a pedestrian refuge island, shown here, as well as the separation of the left turn and the through lane. I will also note that the median narrowing on southbound Cherry will require the removal of 2 trees. So I did want to note that. So those are the highlights of the improvements themselves. Staff recommends that City Council adopt a resolution approving the design, authorizing the city manager to execute a construction contract with Golden Bay Construction for the San Bruno Avenue, Cherry Avenue intersection improvements project in the amount of $339,139. Authorize the city manager to amend the agreement with DKS Associates for $28,570 for a total agreement in an amount not to exceed $88,048. Approve a construction contingency in the amount of $55,000, total budget in the amount of $602,000, and authorize the return of $470,000 in remaining project budget back to the Measure A fund balance because the project was adequately funded and then some by $470,000. So this concludes my presentation. I'm available and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, we're going to go to colleagues if they have any questions. I know we have a member of the public. I will call on public at the end of all consent items. Vice Mayor Medina.
Thank you very much for that report. Construction is scheduled to start in a couple months and be completed by the end of the year. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Excellent. Thank you.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Can you bring back up the schematic of the proposed or planned end state? I have just a quick question regarding, are there plans to do, in some intersections, they have the dotted lines that kind of guide people through their turns painted on the ground, and I was wondering if this project includes that, just because there's so many different lanes all coming in that might be helpful. I didn't know if that was part of this, study.
I have the project manager as well as the consultant. If Melissa, if you could please allow them in. David Wong and David Mahama. David.
I do not see David Mahama in the room. I only see David Wong, so I brought him in.
Thank you. David, would you be able to answer that question if that's part of the work?
Yeah, sorry, it's trying to start my video, but hi, good evening, members of the City Council. Yes, so there will be kind of the dotted lines that Councilmember Hamilton was asking about. That kind of does a little a curvy thing, but that's for the direction along San Bruno Avenue.
Great, thank you. I'm excited to see this project finally getting close to the finish line. So that's great. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other hands up, we will go ahead and move to item G. Adopt resolution approving the design authorization. The city manager execute a construction contract with NEMA Construction for the street light pole replacement project in the amount of $327,100. Approving a construction contingency of $49,065, appropriation of $9,875 from the Measure A fund balance, and approving a total budget in the amount of $408,875.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I didn't hear, did you call me to start on this, or? So the reason why I pulled this item was to acknowledge the amount of work that needs to be done in San Bruno for some of the simple things that we take for granted of streetlights, and how in our city, because of its age, as we start replacing things, there's a substantial cost, and this is a second round that we've taken on replacing poles, and we're at approximately 10%, and according to staff, each of these poles takes around $10,000 to replace, and we still have a number of those still to do, which is 613. So we have millions of dollars in streetlight repair or replacement that needs to happen, and to not acknowledge that, I think, or to acknowledge it is important, that all of these things have cost, and we're replacing 5%, and that's all we can do at the time, because revenues are tight. I don't know if the city manager or staff would like to add anything to that, but that's why I pulled it, to acknowledge this effort.
City manager?
Sure. Knowing that Councilmember Medina may have questions or want a desire for staff to make a brief presentation, we do have a brief presentation prepared. Should the City Council like to receive it?
Vice Mayor, do you want a whole presentation, or do you just want to comment?
If it's really brief and it's already been prepared, I apologize for speaking too much then, but I think it is important that we acknowledge the work that is necessary, and it's the basics. You know, streetlights, something we all take for granted. So I'll be quiet now. Thank you.
The city manager, is it brief?
Sure.
All right, let's proceed, please.
I could try to be briefer. Let's see. So I have apologize. I'm not sure if I'm showing the right screen. Okay, there we go. So the item before you tonight is the award of the street light pole project. Some project background. In 2016, the city completed a condition assessment of all 2,100 streetlight locations. 680 were identified as being needed to be replaced. There are many that are very old. Typical lifespan that's expected are 15 to 50 years. Some of them between are 80 to 100 years. The annual work plan was to replace the most deteriorated poles first, and where possible, group locations geographically and by pole to minimize construction costs. 36 poles have been replaced, as the Vice Mayor has mentioned, in the previous project. I would like to note that there are some figures that are corrected and shown on this figure. It does not affect the basis of award or the resolution or the recommendation, but I would like to provide just some brief information. The basis of award was the base bid and add alternates combined. That was about 25 poles. The lowest responsive bidder was NEMA Construction. There were additional pole alternates that were provided, B and C, and that's if we had favorable bids to be able to award those. And so the base bid in alternate A equaled $274,000, which is about $66,000 less than the engineer's estimate. Alternates B and C were roughly around the same, 26.5. Total award is $327,100 for 31 poles. Some pictures of existing poles. As you can tell, the steel ones are rusted, and there's some concrete ones as well. So staff recommends council adopt a resolution approving the design, authorizing the city manager to execute a construction contract with NEMA Construction for the streetlight pole replacement project in the amount of $327,100. Approve a construction contingency of $49,065. Appropriate $9,875 in Measure A fund balance, and approve a total budget in the amount of $408,875. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Questions from colleagues? Councilmember Hamilton.
Just a quick question. My understanding is that some of these same poles sometimes are utilized when we have the small cell site requests from the telecommunications companies, and I was wondering if any of the older poles that are identified have also been ones that have been requested to be utilized by small cell sites, and or if that were to happen, do we check this list and replace the whole pole as part of that project?
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Hamilton, for that question. We do require that prior to installation, there currently are no co-locations on streetlight poles. They're on joint poles that are owned by PG&E, so that has not occurred yet. Before that would occur, we would require that they analyze the structural integrity of the pole to confirm that it can maintain that load.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments from colleagues? Seeing none, we'll move on to item J. J is adopt a resolution approving the design authorizing the city manager execute a construction contract with Safety Network Traffic Signs, Inc. for the 2021 traffic sign replacement project in the amount of $92,295. Vice Mayor, please.
Mr. Mayor, just checking if Director Ritchie has a presentation for that, and that would probably be brief. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and since they've gone through the time to prepare it, it's important that we listen. And of course, it's Interim Director Ritchie, so we want to listen.
Oh, thank you so much. I do have a brief presentation to provide. Let's see. Okay. So good evening again. The item before you tonight, 5J, is the award of the traffic sign replacement project. Okay. In 2007, the FHWA established requirements for traffic sign legibility and retroflectivity. In 2017, staff completed a condition assessment, and the city's 4,900 approximately traffic signs with 2,470 about 55% needing to be replaced. The work plan included replacing signs based on safety category priorities, which are priority 1, stop, yield, always; priority 2, regulatory warning, school; speed limit, etc. Priority 3, street name and guide signs; priority 4, parking and custom signs. In 2019-20, over 728 Priority 1 signs were replaced. So this has already occurred. This year's project includes, we'll focus primarily on the Priority 2 sign location. So Priority 1 signs were replaced, now we're focusing on Priority 2. This includes replacing 359 regulatory warning and school traffic signs, 83 traffic sign poles, and removing and installing 80 street name or other signs onto the new poles. Staff anticipates a 4-month installation schedule. Future years will replace and update the remaining Priority 2, as well as Priority 3 and 4 signs. So these are some examples of what a Priority 2 sign looks like. Staff recommends that Council adopt a resolution approving the design, authorizing the city manager to execute a construction contract with Safety Network Traffic Signs, Inc. for the 2021 traffic sign replacement project in the amount of $92,295.
Thank you for your report. Comments or questions from colleagues? Vice Mayor?
Just a thank you for that. It's important work that I think it's important to share with our community. Thanks.
Okay, seeing none other, I'd like to at this time go to any comments on consent from the public. And City Clerk, if you can assist me and bring in the members.
Yes, we have Paul Wapensky.
Good evening, can you hear me?
Yes, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. I'd like to go back to the Cherry Avenue plan. I read the staff report and it says that one of the items that they're going to do with their is to synchronize the stoplights. And I've talked to the Public Works before and also the Traffic and Safety Commission. But if you're going westbound on San Bruno Avenue and you want to make a left turn on the Cherry to get into Mills Park, that turn light doesn't synchronize with the rest of them. Sometimes you'll have to wait 2 cycles for it to turn green while all the other traffic gets to flow. So if they can fix that now, that'd be great. But when they do the project, please make sure that's part of it, because it's really frustrating to sit at that light for, sometimes 2 cycles and not get to turn. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments and bringing that to staff's attention and the TSPC. Thank you. Okay, with that, that concludes consent. We have items A through J. Is there any action from council?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion, Salazar, second, Medina. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Aye.
Councilmember Mason.
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Marty Medina.
Aye.
Mayor Rico Medina.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.